Welcome to Book Fairies First Look. I'm your host, Micki Bare. This month, we welcome Viviane Elbee, author of the newly released I Want My Book Back, illustrated by Nicole Miles and published by Little Bee Books. Viviane has always loved libraries and books, beginning with the tales of Petit Ours, Little Brown Bear, which she quickly learned to share with her sisters. I Want My Book Back is Viviane's second book following her debut, Teach Your Giraffe to Ski. She currently lives in North Carolina with her husband and two book-devouring dinos, her kids. In I Want My Book Back, Daryl loves only one book, a dinosaur adventure. He renews it over and over from the library until one day it's unavailable. Now Daryl is on a quest to get his book back. Will he succeed? Will he find a new story to love? Find out in this exuberant picture book about imagination, creativity, and sharing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Viviane. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And I hope you are doing well. And let's get right into it. So tell me, what inspired you to write this story?
So I was actually inspired to write this story after reading another picture book that was set in the library. And then I went in Goodreads and was writing my review. And then I looked at other reviews. And there was a librarian mentioning that she wished she could find books that would talk about how wonderful libraries are without mentioning any magic or anything that's, can't happen in real life. So I thought, oh, I could do that. So I sat down and started brainstorming all the things I like about libraries. And one of the things was sharing books with others. And that became just the main central theme of this book.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's such a great way to tie it to young children, because that's a big thing, that they're learning to do. Can you talk a little bit about aha revision moments that you had while you were writing I Want My Book Back?
So the very first drafts of Daryl's favorite book, I was really writing about a favorite book that wasn't specific. It was just his favorite book and he would read it and it was his favorite bedtime story. And there were a lot of bedtime scenes. And so I had a few aha moments. One is when my critique partners mentioned it should be a very specific book that I, think out what type of book is it and why does Daryl love it so much? So it's true that it changed a lot when I realized it's a dinosaur book and he loves it because he can act out these dino scenes. And another aha moment is it still had a lot of bedtime scenes. And, there's a lot of talk about books being too quiet and not punchy enough or not, having these, I guess, excitement moments. So then I decided to make the story more active and all the bedtime story scenes disappeared. And it's really now just all the fun he has reading the book and also the fun he has reading the book with others. And then near the end, so this was already probably close to its final version. Daryl's actions to get the book to get the book back, they were just, I'm looking for the book and I'm running around. And then I realized it would be stronger if he tried all the dino moves that he was doing when reading the book and loving the book. So make it all really come together that way. So those were three big revision moments that I had.
So how hard was it as an author to have written something and you feel good about it, right? Because you wrote it and it's, it's your story, it's your vision. And then to go back in and make, those are drastic changes. You're taking out all the bedtime scenes you talked about. Because yeah, it was just what I was thinking about, because I just read the book. There's no bedtime in there. So what did that feel like? Like, was that difficult? How did you do that?
No, most of my drafts go through a lot of revisions. So now I guess I'm just used to the fact that it's going to change a lot. And part of finding the story is, playing and trying these different different angles and a different way of approaching the same story idea. The same story idea is still there, just the scenes change. And yeah.
I think to have that courage to be able to make those drastic changes and still be on point with what you were after in the beginning, that's a really good attribute of a writer and an author, and I think that's part of the success. So Daryl, the main character in the book, loves to read. Talk a little bit about your reading habits and how they've changed over time.
So when I was really young, as a child, I would read the books just for fun, and I would reread and reread, kind of like Daryl does. And I wouldn't ever think about the author's language or what the author was trying to do. It's just, I was reading and it was fun. And as I've gotten older, I've noticed I pay a lot more attention to the language, what the author is trying to do. So I have a different way of reading books. And I also try to read about 500 picture books a year so that I just stay up to date with everything that's going on and what kind of books are selling. So before I had no reading goals, I would just read whenever, but now I have, set reading goals for the year.
That's great. That's writer tip number 2, read in your genre. So that's fantastic. And I think everybody as a writer is going to, their habits will change like that. How was the process of getting a second book published different from when you had the first book published?
So that was a bit of a learning curve too, because initially when I sold the first book, I was thinking maybe I could just sell a second book about the same, with the same giraffe, doing something else. And that didn't sell. And then I tried 2 other stories and those didn't sell. And this one ended up selling. So it wasn't, you get a first book deal and then immediately everything else you write ends up selling. So that was one thing I realized. And the other thing I noticed is when I was writing the very first book, Teach Your Giraffe to Ski, it was just a funny story. It didn't actually have much of a theme in the background initially. And when I had worked on revisions with the editor, she had said there should be a theme, kind of behind the story. So I notice now when I write the books, I think about that, what kind of theme is behind the story. Sometimes it takes a while to find it, but.
Oh, that's neat though. So let's talk a little bit about how you get your ideas for books in general. So you talked about the Goodreads story and the librarian. How else do you get ideas?
So I get ideas from everywhere, from my kids, from taking walks, from doing activities. But I noticed that a lot of my ideas are actually very vague. Like the Teach Your Giraffe to Ski, it was initially skiing giraffe was the idea. And that's not a story, that's just skiing giraffe. So part of getting an idea is after I get this first, like very vague idea, is trying to find out what the story is in that. And that involves a lot of trial and error and a lot of brainstorming, and just sometimes I'll rewrite, like from one story idea, I might do 9 or 10 different versions of what can a story be around this one idea, because it just takes a while to find the idea. So I know sometimes I read about authors that just have this fully formed story, appear in their brains. And that hasn't ever worked for me. So for me, like getting the next idea is a whole process of working an idea. But I do have a lot of little nuggets of ideas, like those little vague things. Even in the middle of the night, one time I was dreaming. I don't know what I was dreaming, but I woke myself up to write magic orange in the notebook next to my bed. And the next morning I looked at it and I was like, what was I dreaming about? A magic orange that I like, it must have been good, but I can't remember that dream.
Or, well, maybe someday as you work that idea, something's going to happen with that magic orange. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and yeah, we take notes. We write. I'm sure all writers can relate to all the little bits and pieces and waking up at night and writing those things down. So yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Do you have any other writing projects in the works right now?
So right now I'm drafting several different story ideas for picture books. Yeah, they're all just in the early stages.
So kind of getting those ideas and working and processing them through. So this is all. Is there anything else that you want to add about, do you have any events coming up for this new book?
Um, Not with any set dates yet. I am going to have a few book signings, and I just had a school reach out about coming in and talking to classes, but nothing with any set dates yet.
Well, we'll be on the lookout for that. It has certainly been wonderful chatting with you today. How can readers, fellow authors, continue to engage with you online?
So I'm most often on Twitter online. That's at Viviane Elbee. Sometimes I'm on Instagram at Viviane Elbee. And you can follow all the books that I like to read on Goodreads. And I'm also under Viviane Elbee on Goodreads.
Excellent. And we encourage everyone to do that. And we thank you again for being with us this month and sharing about your book and your process. And we, of course, wish you the best with I Want My Book Back and all of your writing endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.